10 o'clock, and welcome to Lincoln Ware Live. We're here every Sunday morning from 10 until 11. And, of course, we've got a great show lined up for you today. My first guest will be Reverend Jim Vickers from the Ebenezer Second Baptist Church. I believe that's in Lincoln Heights. Then the second half of the show, Judge Mock. We'll talk to him about what he's doing in the Hamilton County Municipal Court. He runs the housing court. And I'm sure you've got a lot of questions about different housing regulations and things like that. And we'll cover all those bases for you this morning with Judge Mock. But first, the Mountaintop Economic Summit is coming up October 15th through the 18th. Reverend Jim Vickers is the organizer of this. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Lincoln Ware.
Now, tell us a little bit about the Mountaintop Economic Summit.
Well, the Mountaintop Economic Summit, this is our third year for the summit. It is hosted we hosted at the Sheraton Hotel in Sharonville, Ohio. It is a 2.5-day conference. It's like a serious revival and a serious business meeting in the same place.
Now, and then revival, yes. Now, a lot of people say, and I'm one of the people saying, I think churches need to get more into economics. Especially, and this is going to be creating jobs and things like that also, right?
Yes, Lincoln, especially in particular for some constituencies. When you talk about economic development, really we're talking about jobs for some people. At the end of the day, in the state of Ohio, we are losing jobs. We're losing jobs to other states. Hamilton County, we're losing jobs, and the church is a significant stakeholder in our community, and the church needs to be at the table. Yeah. So this conference is looking at what is the role of the church, not the black church, not the white church, not the Baptist church, but what is the role of the church in terms of economic development?
All right, we want to hear from you also at 381-3838, or you can call 651-3838. What do you think the role of the church should be when it comes to economics? Want to get your input on that. And a lot of people are getting dressed, ready to go to church right now. So take a few minutes, call in, and give us your opinion on the role of the church when it comes to economics. Now, this takes place October 15th through the 18th. Who will be involved in this?
Well, on Wednesday night, October 15th, we kick off in Madisonville. We have 3 or 4 other host pastors that are really putting their names and their ministries on the line. We have Pastor Jack Perkins from Front Street Church of God in Hamilton, Dr. Ralph Godfrey in Madisonville, Dean James Diamond from Christ Cathedral, 4th and Sycamore. We kick off on Wednesday night at 7 o'clock in Madisonville at New Life Temple. We have Bishop Harold Ray from West Palm Beach, noted attorney, excellent pastor. You might have seen him on TBN. On the next morning at 8 o'clock, we'll be at the Sheraton for the rest of the time, and we have the Lieutenant Governor here at 8 o'clock. Lieutenant Governor is our Chief Economic Officer for the state of Ohio. The Ohio Department of Development is one of our partners with the summit and one of our partners with the ministry. We have Marilyn Shazar, the CEO of Metro, an African-American woman who is doing a great job there. The evening we have a reception at the Sheraton. The next day we have Reverend Charlie Winburn. We have Neil Boards, president of Town Properties. We have Lori Beth Jones, author of the book Jesus CEO, out of Phoenix, Arizona. That evening we have Dennis Kimbrough for a banquet. It's an excellent, well-attended service.
Now, how do you get the old guard in the church? You know, just go to church on Sunday, go to Bible study on Wednesday, and that's it. How do you get them to conform to, the church expanding, getting into economics?
Well, the Bible says, Lincoln, that we are destroyed for lack of knowledge. When you really search the Word of God and you get into God's Word at a deeper level, understand, first of all, Jesus was a small business person. He was a carpenter's son, and that was an issue there with the old guard. It was one of the reasons he was rejected. When you look at many of his parables, for instance, 2 fish and 5 loaves, I mean, in 2008, that's a profit and loss statement. That's a balance sheet, and it really is reflective of many school systems, many manufacturing firms, many churches, not enough resources. It was a dry place. They didn't have any water, didn't have any place to stay. They had no money to feed them. The disciples, the board of directors said, leave. But Jesus said, hold on. And what he did was began to organize. And at the end of the day, at the end of the session, at the end of the worship service, at the end of the board meeting, there were 12 baskets full left over. There was some profit.
Now, a lot of people say, as much as the church collect on Sunday mornings, they deposit that money in the banks, that they should have a lot more leverage
we should, but we are too divided in the church. And again, jobs or lack of jobs affects all of our churches. If the marketplace is not profitable, then our churches are not going to be profitable.
We need to take a quick break. We'll come right back. 381-3838 is the phone number if you want to jump on board. If you've got questions, Reverend Vickers will answer those questions for you when we return right here on Lincoln Ware Live on WBQC. And you can watch us, WBQC.com, streaming live. And we are back live. Lincoln Ware Live is the program. Reverend Jim Vickers is my guest this morning from the Ebenezer Second Baptist Church out in good old Lincoln Heights.
Yes.
All right, Lincoln Heights.
Zone 15.
Zone 15, that's it, Lincoln Heights. Now, tell us, a lot of people, a lot of churches out there in the real estate, they own apartment buildings, daycare centers, and things like that. Is that a part of what you're trying to do here? Or are you trying to expand that? Or how does that?
Well, Lincoln, what I'm really trying to do is enhance the thought process that we have. For instance, in a place like Lincoln Heights, there's not a lot of economic development going on a macro level, nor is there a lot of attractiveness going on in terms of businesses coming into the community. However, there are 20-some churches in a 0.8 square mile radius. If the church does not do something, if the church does not attract businesses, if the churches are not prosperous, the community is not going to be prosperous.
All right, let's go to the telephones. Let's find out what people are saying this morning. Let's start it off with Kimuel. Kimuel, good morning. How are you?
Hey, good morning, Lincoln. How you doing? To your guest.
Good morning. How are you?
All right. Well, I guess the bottom line, as the scripture said, the economic part of the church should be geared toward the widow, the fatherless, and the poor. If you want to get technical with the scripture. I think the finances of the church should be strictly geared to the widow, fatherless, and poor. I understand economics for the citywide, building up your local area. But the bottom line, as the scripture said, the widow, fatherless, and poor.
So what are you saying? You're saying that they shouldn't be doing this, or what?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
That's what it should be for. The finances, the economic part of the church, widow, fatherless, and poor. It's already good enough that the church.
Okay, let Reverend Vickers respond to that.
Okay. One of the things that we've done, Lincoln, to help offset that thinking process is Ebenezer is not the one that's out front doing it. We have a separate nonprofit 501c3 with a separate board that just works with our church. So technically, Ebenezer is not the entity out front doing it. However, I'm the pastor of Ebenezer. I am the quote-unquote pastor, the executive director of Valley Learning Center, and it's for that kind of thinking is why we separate. However, Valley Learning Center could not do what it does without Ebenezer, and Ebenezer really could not do what it does without Valley Learning Center. So that's how we get around that. It's not Ebenezer, it's Valley Learning Center. However, Valley Learning Center is really the training and the business incubation entity of Ebenezer Second Baptist Church.
Kimuel, come out of the old ancient times. This is 2008. Let's get with it, Kimuel. Tia, how you doing this morning?
Hello?
Yes, how you doing?
I'm doing fine.
Turn your TV down. Turn your TV down. I'm going to have to put you on hold, Tia.
Turn the TV down.
Tia, tell her to turn her TV down. We can't get anywhere with her. There's a 10-second delay, folks. When you call in, listen to the phone, not the television. The phone number is 381-3838, 651-3838. We're talking about the Mountaintop Economic Summit. How can people get involved if they want to come to the summit? Is there a number they can call? If any pastors or churches are listening, they want to get involved in it, what do they do?
They can call 513-772-2860, 513-772-2860. Toll-free number is 1-877-228-9660. 71. Our website is www.valleylearn.org.
Now you've got some heavyweight sponsors sponsoring this this summit, so this is big stuff here. You got CVS Pharmacy, PNC Bank, American Financial.
Well, Lincoln, again, what we're doing there is, I don't have a mega church here in Cincinnati, but we think we're doing some mega things. And what we're doing is modeling and demonstrating that you can take small and do major things when you collaborate. I believe that the gospel must be in the marketplace, and the marketplace must be in the church. And when we work together, we can make some things, happen. So we have a lot of business partners, and they help us tremendously.
That's good. That's good. Okay, we're going back to Tia. Hopefully she's gotten herself together over the past minute or so. If not, she's out of here. Tia, how are you? Tia. She's not together. She's some people just don't learn. Now, the Mountaintop Economic Summit, is this the first one you've done?
This is the third time we've done it. This will be our third annual. This will be our third annual summit. And we've had in the past approximately 300 attendees, and that's a lot for what we are doing.
And I think it's a great thing, and you're to be commended. I think the church needs to get into this a lot more than they have been, because they've been criticized a lot, not doing enough in the community. And in order for them to do that, they have to be economically strong.
Well, most of us, Lincoln, have a benevolent offering, and there's nothing, or a benevolent. We call ours a good news box, and we help people who are coming who need food, clothing, shelter, rental assistance. But the demand is so great, and the traditional method of funding that and financing that is difficult, and we need to be able to do more.
All right, let's go to Tara. Tara, how are you?
I'm fine.
Good. What's on your mind?
I want to know why these churches don't help. I want to know why these churches don't help people if they're struggling.
Okay, why won't churches help people if they're struggling? Now, and sometimes I believe churches are overburdened with people thinking that church should pay their rent, pay their gas and electric. They come in every month. I need this, I need that. I think people rely on the church a little too much when it comes to that.
Yes, Lincoln, I think that most churches here in Cincinnati do make a major effort to help people who are struggling. However, you've got to help your own family first. And if you can't help the people in your church, it's going to be challenging for you to help people who don't go to your church. And remember, if you're putting nothing in, you can't necessarily expect to always get something out. So we need to make sure we have good relationships in our churches. And if we have good relationships in our churches, most of our churches are going to make a serious effort to help us.
All right, once again, give us the date and time and place of the Mountaintop Economic Summit.
October 15th through the 18th, the Sheraton Cincinnati North Hotel, 11320 Chester Road.
All right, Reverend Jim Vickers, I told you I'd have you out in time to get church started at 11 o'clock.
No problem.
Thank you for stopping by, and it looks like the Mountaintop Economic Summit will be another success.
Thank you.
And continued good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me this morning.
Thank you.
All right, let's take a quick break. We'll come back with Judge Mock, and he'll tell us a little bit about what's going on in his courtroom. He's also running for Hamilton County Common Pleas Court. Yeah. So we'll talk to him about that when we return in a moment, right here on Lincoln Ware Live. And we are back live. Lincoln Ware Live is the program. As promised, we've got Judge Russell Mock running for Court of Common Pleas. So remember that on November 4th when you go to vote. And he also, right now, he's on the Hamilton County Municipal Court. And you also handle the housing court, both for the city and the county. And that's got to be a tough job. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Lincoln, very much.
That housing court is, man, you get everything from lead paint to people having junk in their yard and cars up on blocks next door, things like that. So that's got to be tough. What do you see most in the housing court?
Well, we see a little bit of everything, Lincoln. You gave pretty good examples. Obviously, the lead paint cases have been very important to the city. The junk cases also. Those are the things that people see the most.
Yeah.
You know, when you drive around our community and you drive past some of these places and you see it, and it just it sticks in your mind. So.
And what if a person's out there watching right now, and one of their neighbors has just so much junk in the yard? They've called the police. Nothing's happened. What can a person do? And by the way, if you've got questions, 381-3838 or 651-3838. If you've got questions for the judge on this situation, what can a person do if it's just it's an eyesore? What can a person do?
Well, these are criminal cases, and so they are charged and prosecuted by the local city, whether it's the city of Cincinnati or the local municipalities. Most of the departments have building departments. Folks can call the building department, the housing department. They'll come out and they'll do an investigation just like any other case. They'll come out, they'll take a look at the scene, see what they can do, and then usually if they feel that someone's not in compliance with the code, they'll issue which is sort of a warning letter, and say that you need to address and fix this problem. They give you generally 35, 45 days in order to come into compliance, and then when the property owner does not come into compliance, then the city or the county has to take action, and they'll issue a citation, just like a criminal complaint.
I read in the paper not long ago where some guy went to jail. I guess he went through you. I can't think of the guy's name, but he had been warned, and he just didn't do it, and you threw him in jail.
That was the worst case scenarios.
Yeah.
You know,
sometimes you have to do it.
Sometimes it has to be done. You know, the goal of housing court is compliance.
Yeah.
We just, and the city just wants people to fix the problem. And there are some unfortunate people that just don't have the ability, the financial ability to do it. We work with them as best as we can. We've tried to come up with some solutions. We've got some new programs, sort of a diversion program on steroids where people they go into the program. If they're able, with the assistance of the city, to fix the problem, then the charge will eventually be dismissed against them.
And what about all these vacant houses around town? You know, if the windows are out and grass is growing up and no one seems to be able to find the owner of the property. Now, can you if you can't find the owner, can you just say tear it down?
Well, the city has a program now where once a property's been deemed condemned, and there's a process they go through. The city will put it on a demolition list. Unfortunately, one of the major problems, like everything else, is financial. The city just does not have the money to do it. They do what they can to tear them down, but unfortunately we have thousands of these properties now in our community that need to be torn down. And we've had issues with large out-of-state financial institutions that own a lot of these properties.
Right. And they're not keeping them up.
And they're not keeping them up.
Foreclosure, no one's cutting the grass, and it's just...
And we only have so much teeth to bite back at these people, and it's very difficult because what the law requires is the city has to get service of notice on these people about the problems, and with them being out-of-state large financial institutions, they sort of thumb their nose at the system. So it is a problem.
All right, let's go to the telephones, 381-3838, 651-3838 if you want to talk to Judge Mock. And let's start things off with, is that Abrina or Sabrina? Abrina? Are you telling these people to turn their TVs down? Jackie, how are you? Jackie. What the heck is going on? I don't understand.
Okay, how are you?
Jackie, turn your TV down.
Yes, sir. I want to know, once you go to court, can you hear me?
Yes.
Once you go to court, do the judge or the law give you 10 to 30 days to move out at the eviction?
Okay.
I think the question, well, in a landlord-tenant dispute, if there are certain statutory requirements that the landlord has to follow, they have to give you notice, and for 30 days generally. And then depending on when you go to court, the judge or the magistrate can issue a writ, which is forces the people to have to leave.
Okay. Can that judge also give you some extra time?
It does allow for it, but generally the people would have to post a bond in order to stay.
All right, 381-3838, 651-3838. Do you have yourself together yet, Abrina?
Adriana?
Yes. Okay, let me tell you something. Do this. Turn your TV down.
It is turned down.
I can still hear myself.
Turn it down.
Why is that? Okay, go ahead.
It's turned down now. It's turned down.
What's your question?
My question is for the judge. When people get, when they leave their apartments and stuff like that, and it's still really in their lease and things like that, how can it be changed when they're trashing their environment and that you're trying to pick up, try to help your environment out? How can that change when people are doing damage to the apartment that's still in your name when you're about to leave?
Okay, I don't know. Did you understand that?
I didn't quite get that one, Lincoln. I'm sorry.
I didn't get that one either.
You didn't get my question?
No, not really. Okay, neither one of us did. Rethink it and call me back. Let's go to, who is this? I can't see for the arrow there. It's blocking the name. Hello, how you doing? Tina.
Oh, I'm sorry. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Yes. My question actually is actually more of an interest in the statement the judge just made, referencing out-of-town corporations that own property within the city of Cincinnati. And my particular interest is in if it's deemed that a property needs to come down, is there some mechanism or can there be some mechanism made where there's a charge back to the actual owner?
Absolutely, and the city has been pursuing those in sort of a civil nature. What happens is the city will go in and they'll demolish one of the properties, and then they'll send a bill to the corporation. And then, like any other unpaid bill, when it's not paid, they have been generally pursuing them civilly in court to collect on the sort of restitution for the demolishing the building.
Okay, so
but once again,
it's not definite that because the owner cannot, because they're out of town, they're a corporation, they cannot be located, that the building will continue on and on to stay there indefinitely.
Absolutely, and that's one of the major concerns now with the city is trying to address all these problems. And as I said, financially, the city just doesn't have the money to take all of them down.
They were trying to even put more money into this fund they had to tear down a lot of these houses because they just didn't have enough money to do it. And there's so many houses until it's just and it's not good for the neighborhoods. Let's face it.
And the city can also put liens on the properties. Then eventually, if it is taken down and sold, then the city can recoup some of its losses.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for the call.
Good question. Let's go to William. William.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm doing fine. I want to ask Judge Mike a question.
Yes.
I heard you was trying to be a new judge, and you know the problem we've been having in Cincinnati with the judges, the prosecutor, and what I want to know is, you know what's been happening with people leaving their kids in the car and everything like that. I know it's up to the prosecutor to prosecute, but with you being the judge, what we need judges who ain't afraid. If people getting locked up illegally, if people coming to court illegally, if they're being arrested illegally, we need judges who ain't afraid and who could say, well, this ain't right and this is right. I just need to know, would you be that kind of judge?
That's a good question. Thanks.
I ain't making it racial.
Hang up and listen to the answer.
Well, a judge's obligation is to follow the law. I don't make the law myself. I'm to interpret the law and then apply it fairly and impartially. And that's sort of what a judge has to do. There are certain laws in the books that I don't necessarily agree with.
But if they're there, you have to.
But if they're there, then I have to follow them. Those are very, very difficult cases.
And I'm sure if you're elected to the Court of Common Pleas, you'll probably see some of these same cases that are out there now. Women leaving their kids in the car and saying they forgot, they'll probably come to you. I mean, those cases will come to the Common Pleas Court.
Absolutely. And, a lot of being a judge, obviously, is knowing the law and following the law, but it's using a lot of common sense.
Yeah.
And the smell test, like everything else, is one of the things I rely upon. And, if you follow the law and you try and do the right thing, but in the end of the day, you've just got to use, what's between your ears and do the right thing.
All right, we've got Judge Mock with us this morning. We'll take a quick break, and then we'll come back and take more of your phone calls at 381-3838, 651-3838. Lincoln Ware with you till 11 o'clock. We'll be right back after these important messages. We are back live. Lincoln Ware Live is the program. Of course, we're here every Sunday morning from 10 until 11. And if you know someone who lives anywhere around the world and they want to watch us live, all they have to do is log on to WBQC.com and you can see us right there on the internet. All right, the phone number is 651-3838. All the other lines are pretty much busy now, so the only lines that are available are 651-3838. Let's go to David. David, good morning. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
You have a question for Judge Mock.
Yeah, I do have a question for Judge Mock. I was experiencing something yesterday, and I called the Cincinnati police officer, and they told me it was a civil matter. It had to do with a fire chief that my daughter rents from. He rented to 3 different individuals in one household. They were supposed to all sign the lease. They never received the lease. It's been over a year, and there's been discrepancies about the rent every month. One of them comes short every month, and he gets a little hostile, but he's become very verbal and somewhat intimidating to the children over there. Yesterday, he came over to the property, and he tried to force his way. Well, she went to close the door to end their conversation. He tried to push the door back open. And when I called the police, they said he was like at the border of breaking the criminal law, but it's pretty much a civil case. So my thing is, I want to know, since you're a judge, and this it just happened yesterday, it's quite coincidental. From your standpoint, legally, what can she do to defend herself? She's been there a year. He hasn't given her a lease. He has signed the lease. The property could use some work, and he won't do the work. And not to mention, it's a 2-family, and she's paying water over there. From my understanding, she shouldn't if it's more than one tenant that occupies the building.
Okay, I think we got it. Signed the lease, but don't have any copies of it, and some discrepancies with the amount of rent. So what happens in a case like that?
A lease is a contract, and it sounds from the question that they really don't have a lease anymore, and so it sort of becomes what's known as a month-to-month lease. And what she can do, well, obviously, my first recommendation, always try and speak with a lawyer. It is a civil matter. She can give him, the landlord, notice that she intends to move out at the end of the month. Would be the best thing to do.
Or can she sort of put the rent payments in escrow or something like that?
She can do that as well if she intends on, there's a lot of reasons why it sounds like she would be able to break the lease. Mm-hmm. And that's always something that she can do. She can go to the clerk's office in the Mahoney County, or in the clerk's office in the main courthouse.
And she could pay that rent to them, and that'll bring him into court real quick to get this thing settled.
It usually does.
Yes. All right. Let's go to Steve. Steve, you have a question for Judge Mock. Steve.
Hey, how's it going?
How you doing?
Pretty good. I'd like to ask the Honorable Judge Mock, why, when somebody appeals one of his decisions, is that person required to keep coming back to court until the appellate makes a decision? Why can't they just, let it go? Why does he keep calling all these appellates back to court?
Well, once a case is appealed, it goes up to our District Court of Appeals, which is the First District Court of Appeals here in Hamilton County. And depending upon how soon that they dispose of the case, the only way for the lower court to really know when they've reached a decision is we put it on periodically for a report to check on the status, because a number of times the sentence, whatever my decision was, will be stayed until the Court of Appeals has had time to review the case and then render the decision. So when a case comes back for report, sometimes the person that's appealed the case has not followed through, has not filed the brief, and then the Court of Appeals would dismiss that, okay, and then that comes back to my court for imposition of the sentence.
Does that answer it, Steve?
Well, not really, because the appellate court's going to notify him of the decision. So at that point, he could make a decision what he wants to do. I mean, to have an appellate come back every 6 weeks, 2 months, to his court just to be dismissed to come back in another 2 weeks, I mean, I don't understand where that really serves justice.
All right, thanks for your call. And normally, if the appellate, I don't know if they come back and say something happened in that trial was not right, and they win the appeal. That's pretty much it, or they have to go to another trial.
Well, sometimes if the decision is reversed and they send it back, sometimes they'll send it back for a new trial, or sometimes the Court of Appeals will dismiss the case, or else they will send it back for sentencing. And at that time, you know, the court's obligation is to rule on that.
All right, let's go to Tara. Tara, how are you? Tara. Okay, let's go to BJ. BJ or DJ.
Yes.
How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Good morning to you. I'd like to ask you a question regarding the landlord.
Okay.
I signed a lease in this year in June, and the landlord know that the property was in foreclosure.
Okay.
Now I got to move again.
And what your question is?
Question is, what can I do? I can take them to court and sue them for the year's lease plus expenses of moving.
All right, hang up and listen to the answer. Yeah, I'm sure that happens a lot now. People renting, the house goes in foreclosure, or the apartment building. What do the people do?
Well, as I said earlier, all leases is a contract. Obviously, the first thing that you should do is read the lease, read the contract, and says what your remedies are if the lease has been broken by the landlord. But certainly, if a foreclosure action is filed, I don't know whether or not he was actually the new owner or the bank would come in to do the eviction. They might want to just try and sign a new lease with him unless they have other plans for the building. But certainly then he has legal remedies that once again he's got to take up.
And it would seem like the bank would probably want people to stay there and pay until somebody buys the building at the auction or something. You know, it seemed like, I don't know what if a bank would want to get all the tenants out of there and just leave an empty building there.
He might, if he knows who the organization is that's coming in to do the foreclosure, it might be wise for him to try and contact them directly and see what their plans are.
Maybe the owner of the building will tell you who to contact if you haven't talked to him yet. Pat, how are you?
Okay, how you doing?
Good.
Yes, I have a question. This is a long-time question. It happened years ago. My daughter was arrested, and come to find out, it was not her problem. I mean, not the cause. She was not the cause of the arrest. The police was. And they threw it out of court, but they did charge her with resisting arrest. We had to do an expungement and the whole 9 yards on that. That is still following her to today. Why are they giving the policemen a way out and sticking these kids with these misdemeanors and felonies for the rest of their life? It was not her problem. I mean, it was the policeman's fault. I mean, we proved it in court to have whole 9 yards.
Well, it was dismissed then, right?
Please?
Was the case dismissed?
The case was, one case was dismissed. They charged her with resisting arrest and disorderly conduct. And this was when the NAA was here, the Niggers with Attitude concert.
Yeah.
Years ago. Okay. She was thrown in the street by a policeman. We went to court. We had witnesses the whole 9 yards. Anyway, she was charged with resisting arrest, which that couldn't possibly be so. She weighed 90 pounds.
But was she found guilty of that?
Guilty of resisting arrest. How was she found guilty of resisting arrest?
I mean, you know, I don't think resisting arrest has any weight limit. A 90-pound female can resist arrest.
Well,
anybody can resist. If a cop comes up to a little kid and tries to handcuff them, they can resist being arrested. So
right, that's what I'm saying. What was it doing on the record in the first place then?
If she did that and was found guilty.
She didn't do it. It was on the news and TV and everything else.
Well,
we had a lawyer, even the witnesses.
Wait, was she found guilty in court?
She was found guilty in court, which I'm saying the court is wrong if she was found guilty, and that's why we don't
agree.
You
know, I don't know what to say. I mean,
Well, obviously, I don't believe that I presided over that case. She said it sounds like it was some time ago. You know, that's one thing about being a judge. You know, you do the best you can. You follow. You know, always the best decision isn't made. You know, we try and do the best, but usually, anytime decision we make, half the people are going to leave happy, the other half are going to leave unhappy. You know, but as long as they felt that they were fairly treated and the system was fair, I mean, that's what our system is set up to do.
And it's set up to get that record expunged if that's, now what can you have expunged?
Well, you have to, the qualifications in Ohio is you have to be a first-time offender. So if you have any prior convictions other than minor misdemeanor traffic offenses, you're generally eligible. And then some offenses, which are considered offenses of violence, are not expungible under Ohio law.
But pretty much everything other than violence or something like that, you can have expunged if you don't get into any more trouble. See, that's the key. People have 3 and 4 misdemeanors stacking up on them and maybe a felony here and there, and you can't get them expunged if you have over 1.
And that includes out-of-state convictions as well. A lot of people will file for expungements that come through municipal court, and the prosecutor's office actually do the investigation, and they'll find convictions from out-of-state, and that precludes them as well from having it expunged. So you need to keep that in mind when you file and come to court.
Yeah, I mean, they just, okay, you make one mistake, and then they make another one, and another one, and another one, and they just pile up on you. Let's take a quick break, and we'll come back and take a couple of more calls with Judge Mock, who is running for Hamilton County Common Pleas Court. Remember that on November 4th. We'll take a break, and we'll come right back after these messages. We are back live. Lincoln Ware Live is the program. Every Sunday morning, we're right here with, hey, this morning in the paper, a big front page of the Enquirer talking about housing and Section 8 and the whole bit. So I'm sure you get a lot of Section 8 cases and things like that with landlords. And Judge Mock, he handles the housing court for Hamilton County. Let's go to Kathy. Kathy, how you doing?
Yes.
What's your question? Kathy, turn your TV down. What's your question?
Oh, okay. My question is regarding felons. I'm not a felon, but I have a friend that he's a felon, and he's been going through a lot of changes. And what I wanted to know is, he done paid his debt to society for what he done, and now it seems like he's still paying his debt. You know, he can't get a job, he can't get housing.
Okay, what did he do? What did he do?
He sold drugs, and he was arrested. He did his time for it.
Okay.
You know.
Did he only have 1 felony?
He had 2.
2.
He had 2 felons.
Okay, that's.
And it's like every time he tried to get a job, he can't get a job. He can't get housing. I mean, he done paid his debt to society, so why is he still paying for it? That just make his heart harden and make him want to go out and create another crime.
That's a good question, and we hear that a lot. I mean, a lot of these companies, they just won't give people a second chance if they've paid their debt, and that's a big issue. And I know Mayor Mark Mallory is trying to work with companies to get them to, hey, give these cats a chance, because if you don't, they're going to get back out on the street and do the same thing over again. How do you feel about that?
Absolutely. Everybody makes mistakes, but 2 felony convictions is real big mistakes. You know, and I still think those people can be, you know, productive members of society. They can still go through job training. There's a lot of things that are available out there if they go and they look for them. Obviously, it might be easier to fall back into the way of crime. But, you know, that's the obligation, you know, our community and our community leaders, and we've got to get some programs out there to help people.
But how do you feel, okay, if you do your time, how do you feel about your record being wiped clean once you come out? How do you feel about that? Do you think a person should be able to start fresh and have that record wiped away after they served the time for what they did?
Well, you know, certainly, you know, nonviolent property offenses and things like that. You know, people make mistakes. People get down on their luck, and they make bad financial decisions. A lot of times they, you know, come in to commit a crime during those things. And those folks, obviously, you know, a lot of good people do bad things sometimes, and you know, they deserve second chances. But when we start talking about, you know, people that are selling drugs, we're talking about violent felons and things like that. It's
a lot of companies hesitate before they want to bring you in there, and for good reason. Let's go to James. James, and then Lloyd and Mike. We might have time to take those calls. Go ahead, James. James.
Good morning, Lincoln and Judge. How are you?
How you doing?
Doing pretty good. Just a couple of questions. You're talking about the being able to get records expunged. I think in 1979, I had a menacing offense. Now it stemmed from me being on the bus and the Cincinnati public, you know, Metro, Cincinnati Metro, and there was a smoking issue. Of course, not supposed to smoke on the bus. I was asked by the bus driver to get off the bus. I did so. About 3 months later, I rode that bus every day for 3 months. I worked at VA hospital, and all of a sudden he had stopped, pulled over, and the police arrested me. They said I was menacing. I was the type that got on the bus, spoke to everyone, good morning, how are you, to everyone. And actually the judge said, oh, you need to go to jail to see how it is. The old workhouse, remember that? Yeah. I went there for 3 weekends, the worst time I ever had in my life. Now, I did not get that expunged. That was the first time offense, no juvenile record or anything.
Why didn't you get it expunged?
I had no connections, no understanding about the law or anything because I never did anything.
Okay, have you been in trouble since?
I've been in trouble since 1994.
Oh, boy.
I had altercation with an ex-girlfriend, and I was trying to leave her, and there was a big fight.
Were you found guilty of domestic violence?
Found guilty of domestic violence.
Well, see, that, I don't know.
Well, domestic violence is something that's never expungible because it's considered offensive violence. Also, if you're convicted once of domestic violence, any subsequent, or if you're charged again with domestic violence, it can be charged as a felony. So that's one of the reasons why it's not expungible.
Right. Now, in this instance, I do have mitigating factors. Can I represent that to the court? Because there were a lot of factors that were just not presented in my favor.
Okay, that's a good question. Let him answer that.
Unfortunately, what the law says, it doesn't allow for mitigating factors. You're either a first-time offender or you're not. And then it doesn't, you know, some things with the judges' duties are discretionary, but some of them are mandatory, and we have to follow the law. And even, obviously, it sounds like you've been law-abiding, except for a couple incidences, but the law does not allow a judge to grant an expungement on that.
Lloyd. Lloyd.
Yes.
Go ahead. Turn your TV down.
Oh. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, Lincoln. This is Lloyd.
I know.
And I'm curious, and I'm asking a question, and I want the judge to answer this, and then I want your opinion on this.
Okay.
Now, here it's been a while back. A little girl was trying to work and take care of herself, and didn't have no help, all she had was a job, and she took her children, didn't even have enough money to even have a babysitter, and took her kids and put it in the closet. They give her 38 years. But now let me ask you this, and it's not no prejudice question or nothing. I just want y'all's opinion on this because I'm struggling with this.
Okay,
now you have a teacher that goes to school and leaves the baby in the car, and they says, "Oh, well, she's all of this and all of that." But
okay, you want to know the difference in the two and how one lady got 38 years and the other one got set scot-free. The one lady with the 38 years, her kids are still alive. The other one, the baby's dead. And you want to know, I don't know if you can touch on that case or not, since it's...
Well, as I touched on a little bit upon earlier, the judge's obligation is to follow law. The judge doesn't charge someone, that's the job. That's up to the prosecutor and the police. And if they don't feel that they can get a conviction, they've got an prosecutors have an ethical obligation. If they don't think that they can make a case, or they don't think that they can secure a conviction, then they have an ethical obligation not to bring that charge.
And that's a tough case. It's been in the media a lot. Matter of fact, I've got Hamilton County Prosecutor Joe Dieters on my radio show tomorrow morning on 1230 The Buzz at 10:15. So you might want to pose that question to him tomorrow morning on the Lincoln Ware Show. So, but Judge Mock, I want to thank you for joining me, and good luck November 4th. You're running for our Common Pleas Court, and so you want people to remember that name, M-O-C-K, Judge Mock.
Thank you, Lincoln.
Thank you for joining me. All right, we'll take a break, and then we'll come back and wrap things up right here on Lincoln Ware Live. Back in just a few seconds, right here on It's 38. Back in a moment. We are back live. Lincoln Ware Live is the program. Don't forget, check me out next Sunday morning at 10 a.m. and we'll have some exciting guests for you as usual. Don't forget, coming up at noon right here on It's 38, a show called Throttle, starring Adrian Paul and Amy Locane. That's at noon today on It's 38. If you want to see a rebroadcast of this show, check out WOTH Channel 25 tonight at 8 o'clock. That's the rebroadcast of this show tonight at 8 o'clock on WOTH Channel 25. And tonight, following the rebroadcast of this show on Channel 25, Professional English Soccer, the Bolton Wanderers against Fulham. That's tonight at 9 o'clock. And don't forget, if you know some people that can't pick us up on TV, they can watch this show live online every Sunday morning. All they have to do is log on to WBQC.com. and you can get this show live right on your computer. Check me out Monday through Friday on WDBZ, the new 12:30 a.m. from 10 until 2 every morning, Monday through Friday from 10 to 2. We'll see you next week right here on Lincoln Ware Live. See you then.